So, I am absolutely fucking fuming, and here is why. An Iraqi general has tried to bring a private prosecution against Tony Blair for his involvement in the Iraq War. And the High Court in the UK has, surprise, surprise, blocked this prosecution. And thus, once more, Tony Blair is going to evade justice for his actions. And I cannot express to you how fucking angry this makes me. And all of what this case shows is the absurd and despicable hypocrisy that is going on in the UK and indeed in Western nation states around the world. And it's absolutely fucking sickening. Now, some of you will say, Thomas, you're a broken record. Shut the fuck up. I've heard this lecture before, but I'm gonna repeat it because this, what I'm about to tell you, is the biggest and absolute most disgusting hypocrisy of our time. So here's the thing. If you're a white English person and you have questions about immigration, you get called a Nazi, a racist, a bigot, and so forth. If you're a white English person and after a terror attack, you don't just want to light a candle, but you might want to actually think about doing something, in that case, you are Islamophobic. You're a bigot. You're a racist. You're giving in to hate. Again, if you're a white English person and you have problems, I don't know, with the Islamic culture or Sharia law, and you don't think it's suitable for this nation to adopt such ways and practices, if you have questions about halal meat, you think it's unethical, or you have questions about faith schools, you don't like mosques, you don't like women in burqas, you can't stand the sight of people in burqas, or if you're an English person and you go on Facebook and Twitter and you make an innocuous post, complaining about Islam or burqas or blah, blah, blah like this, you could lose your job. You could get fired. You will be socially ostracized because you are an Islamophobic bigot. So you would think, given all this political correctness and genuflecting to Islam and people who are non-white, you would think that if you were a white man and you go to someone else's country, it's not your own country, someone else's country, someone else's, Muslim country, if you go there and you kill, okay, note the word kill there. I didn't say offensive things. No, I said kill, as in murder. If you go to this other country and you kill, indeed murder, 500,000 people, and you maim and injure and disable others, and you basically firebomb families and little children and mothers and fathers and so forth, if you do all this and you leave a people and an entire nation spiritually, physically, emotionally, morally, and financially bankrupted, and you overthrow the legitimate regime and you create absolute havoc and chaos in the country, and you create the conditions for Islamic State, who then come along and run amok all over the Middle East and then spill out into Europe, if you do all of this, there's no fucking consequences for you. That's the thing. You would have thought you would be public enemy number one. You would have thought you would be, since you're a white man, Tony Blair, literally fucking Hitler. But no, you've got it all wrong, kids. That you'd be wrong to think that. No, Tony Blair. You want a private prosecution against Tony Blair because he's an evil white man who's killed 500,000 non-white people, 500,000 brown people? No, sorry, can't be doing that. Sorry. We can't do that. Tony Blair deserves a job. He deserves to become a millionaire, getting all these cushy jobs, making speeches for the UN. That's what he deserves. And this is the thing. This is the utter hypocrisy and absurdity of the world that we're fucking living in. The same judicial system in the UK, when Gina Miller came along and said, can we stop Brexit? They all said, yes, we must do that. We must stop Brexit because it's illegal. But the war in Iraq, which everyone knows is actually fucking illegal, no, we can't make any prosecutions on that. We can't do anything. We couldn't possibly do anything. The idea that Tony Blair is literally Hitler is just absurd. But Brexit, we must stop that, because that's, if we don't stop Brexit, where is our humanity, people? You know, where is our moral backbone? Please stop Brexit. Oh, don't give in to hate, folks. And this is the hypocrisy and the absurdity of the world we're living in. Again, there have been individual soldiers who are fighting in the, Middle Eastern theatre of war. They have been prosecuted. Now, I'm not saying, without wanting to comment on those individual cases, because I know, they might have overstepped the mark and they've killed certain people. They're not responsible for killing 500,000 people. Do you know what I'm saying? And yet these people, it's easy to bring a private prosecution against an individual fucking soldier. Jesus. And yet you can't do anything against Tony Blair? Absolute absurdity. There are white people in the UK who get into all sorts of trouble, just because they said something bad about Islam, or they got into a confrontation with a Muslim preacher or something. And yet there's nothing can be done against Tony Blair. It's absurd. I got picked up the other day by a social justice warrior for referring to Iraqi people as being brown people. How offensive. I just called them brown. I presume that Tony Blair refers to them as native Iraqis, native Iraqi Aboriginals, which means that he's a much better person than I am for calling them fucking brown. And let me bring up something else, because I've recently watched a television program, it's good programs, called Muslims Like Us. But anyway, there were certain Muslims in this program who really, really annoyed me. And the thing is that in this program, they met with somebody. There was 10 Muslims in a house living together. And in the course of events, one of these Muslims met with an EDL member. No, it's an EDL member. It's someone of the English Defence League. Don't give in to hate, folks. And here's the thing, right? Because for a long time now, the media has been giving us a narrative. They say to us, hey, listen, people, do you know what the thing about Muslims is? They're all terrorists. They're all rapists. But then, if you're a white English person and you try to do something, you think about, joining the EDL, which I'm not saying is a clever option, but it's going to happen because, not everyone has the social status and education and intelligence to respond in a fashion like I might. But it's going to fucking happen among the white working class, let's be clear. But as soon as they do something like this, the media then responds and says, but that's Islamophobic. Don't give in to hate, folks. So the media has this dual position on Muslims and on Islam. It says to you, they're all terrorists, they're all rapists. And you sit there and think, well, should I do something? What if we... And you think about doing something, and as you're on the verge of doing something, the media pipes up again and says, Islamophobe, bigot, you're a racist, disgusting. So you go back to sitting there and think, well, what should I do? And then again, the media comes along and it says, they're all terrorists, they're all rapists, And then you think, well, right, we're going to have to do something, and then the media pipes in again, it says, Islamophobe, bigot, racist, Nazi, you're absolutely disgusting. And this is the schizophrenia of the media. The media basically says, hey, it's 2 and 2, folks. It's 2 and 2. It is 2 plus 2. And then when you, as a citizen, says, well, if it's 2 and 2, that must equal 4. As soon as you say 4, they say Islamophobe, bigot, racist, Nazi. That's how it works. It is absolutely ridiculous that people, and white liberals especially, cannot understand why people are joining the English Defence League. Of course they're going to be joining the bloody English Defence League. They've been told that Muslims are terrorists and rapists. And then they're seeing them, pour into their country en masse and take over their cities. Why would anyone join the EDL? Of can't understand it. Oh, and these white liberals are absolute scum. They're total hypocrites because ultimately, subconsciously, they must know this. And I think they like to see people join the EDL, and they know it's going to happen because it makes them feel virtuous and superior. That's the thing. These white liberals, they know exactly what they're doing. They know that certain people are going to join the EDL. Given the current situation, it's freakingly obvious. But instead of saying, well, you know what, we can't afford to have this clash of civilizations. We must close the borders, stop immigration, let Muslims stay in their own countries and have their own countries for themselves, and let's just keep white countries for ourselves because there are certain people in our nation who are going to react badly to Islam. No, what the white liberal basically says is there's a bunch of racists in our country. Come in, Muslims, and let's provoke these racists. That's what they say. It's all complete dog turd. It's all complete dog turd. I cannot believe if a white nationalist basically sneezes, you've got to shut him down. That's the motto. You've got to shut him down because it's hate speech, which could, it's terrible. You can't let these people sneeze because if a white nationalist sneezes, there'll be another Hitler. There'll be another Hitler. That's how it will work. We can't let a white nationalist sneeze. He needs to be deplatformed. He needs to be locked up. He needs to be put in prison because if a white nationalist sneezes, you'll have another Hitler. And yet Tony fucking Blair, who is the definition of another Hitler, no, not a problem. You're a good guy. We don't have a problem with you. You deserve a top job at the UN. You're not going to get prosecuted. No. So let me tell you one final thing which really pissed me off from this program. And there was a Muslim woman in this program, and she was young. She was attractive. She was a teacher. She was educated, middle class, intelligent. In other words, she had a lot going for her. And during the course of this program, the Muslims went to a homeless shelter and they did a good deed. They cooked for the homeless people, which was nice. But here's the thing, because after they cooked this meal, this Muslim woman, this young, attractive Muslim woman, she went and talked to two of the white homeless men. Two white homeless men who have nothing. They're uneducated. They're not intelligent. They're not as attractive as her. They're not going to be able to get a woman like that into bed. It's not going to happen. And they honestly and openly tried to explain to her as a Muslim, knowing fine well that she was a Muslim, what their problem with Islam was. And they said, well, Muslims are terrorists, they're rapists. And they also said, our town has changed. It used to be all white. And yet now you look around and it's full of brown people. It's full of Muslims, and it's completely changed. And as soon as they said this self-obsessed, narcissistic, attractive young woman, she basically screwed up her nose and she accused them of being racists. Absolutely, you despicable people. You are completely racist. And this absolutely fucking gets me. It gets me because this woman has so much more going for her. She has so much more social status than these poor homeless white men. And it really behoves her to act with more class. And these white men, lest we forget, their ancestors built this country. Their ancestors were coal miners. They worked in factories. They worked in satanic mills. They fought 2 world wars. They fought the First World War, and they fought the Second World War to stop racism, apparently. And yet this is the kind of treatment they get in their own fucking country, demonized like that, by someone, by the way, who has come from a culture in the Third World where she wouldn't have any of the benefits that she gets in the Western world. If she wouldn't have the education, she wouldn't have the material wealth, she wouldn't have the progress, and she also wouldn't have the chance to dress in a kind of a Western fashion, because back in her own country, she'd probably have to wear a burqa, or she would be kept locked up in the kitchen all day. She wouldn't be allowed to be a teacher, etc., etc. And yet the moral narcissism of this woman in just totally writing off these 2 white guys with absolutely nothing as just being despicable racists, it absolutely infuriates me. And I can tell you now, let's suppose I went to Iraq and there was some, homeless Iraqi people, and they spat on me and they called me bad names and they wanted to kill me and they wanted to, chop my head off. Do you know what? I would actually understand that. I would understand why that was true. I would understand that the Iraqis would, as a British person, they would fucking hate me. I would understand where that hatred would come from. But this is the world we're living in. We're living in a world where people are not in any way intelligent. They can't see the big picture. They can't see how the world operates. If you're a blue person, you just completely represent blue people, or if you're a red person, you completely represent red people. And there's just a handful of people, be they blue or red, who can see the overall picture and the injustices done to both sides. And that's the thing. Most people have no idea of this. And I'm afraid to say that this little lecture of mine is going to fly over the heads of most people, and most people won't get it. They will still believe that going to a foreign country and killing 500,000 people can kind of be forgotten about and just brushed over. But on the other hand, if you use, if you could talk about brown people, or, you don't use the politically correct jargon, or if you've got questions about Islam, or if, you make a Facebook post and say, oh, I don't like women in burqas, and then get sacked for it, from your job, they will still think that this is perfectly normal, and that by insisting on this ridiculous and absurd political correctness, we are upholding great progressive and moral values, and it's all an absolute load of fucking dog shit. Anyway, let me know of your own opinions in the comment section below.